that first morning, you know, of when we got the news, you know, when we went into the room and everyone was very, you know, there was, people were crying and people were very upset and it was very subdued energy. And we came into the room and then he came on the stage and you know, and you can watch that, you know, what happened that morning on that movie, Leadership in Times of Crisis, that's what it's called. But it's a brilliant movie. So a lot of people actually use that movie in training, in leadership training, in corporates. And I've used that movie a lot in leadership training in South Africa when I was working with organizations. But now what was great is that those two people were sworn enemies from birth just because of their global belief system, which is what's dangerous, right, with people. You see the same thing happening now with the referendum because they've got a global belief that's been handed to them as a kid. You know, women are, men are, Germans are, French are, etc., right? And this guy, Assad, who had grown up in Pakistan, he literally stood up in that room and he said, listen, I understand that you're all upset right now, and this is how he did it, right? Yeah. With the same tonality, and he didn't pull any punches. He said, listen, I understand you're all upset right now. He said, but let me tell you, this is payback.
Oh, he actually said that?
That's exactly what he said. He said, this is payback. He said, I grew up in Pakistan, and I was trained. I was on my way to be trained as a suicide bomber. And luckily, my parents took me to America. He said, I'm an American resident right now. He said, but listen, I want to tell you what they feel like right now, and this is why they're doing what they did. And there was, the tension in the room was incredible. And then what Tony did was he brought a whole bunch of people up onto the stage, and then eventually he got it back down to these two guys only. They were on the stage, and he did indirect facilitation. You know, when you have a mediator, indirect mediation, and he was directing questions to each of these guys, and actually they were communicating to each other through him, and then he got them to the point where they actually hugged each other. Right? Wow. And they made a decision on that stage that they were going to work together. And they did, they formed something together. They formed something and they actually went out to the Far East, into the Middle East there, and they ran workshops on peace. And Assad, that guy Assad, he actually wrote a book called My Jihad, a Muslim man's journey from hate to love. And so they went on and did some great things together. But that's a great movie. If you haven't seen that movie, I recommend, if anyone hasn't seen that movie, anybody's watching this, that movie, Leadership in Times of Crisis, you can get it off Tony's website. It is, I mean, it is mind-blowing. It is so powerful, full of nuggets of you know, real gems and nuggets of leadership and emotional strength. You know, and, yeah.
No, thank you very much for that. And I've heard that individuals have written a book. I've not heard much about Bernie, but I know that those two reconciled on stage with Tony Robbins sitting on. They had like 3 chairs there, and I think we did that similar exercise at, you know, the Yes Group, where you're meant to pretend that there's certain characters that are talking to you, and they're talking to
archetypes.
You. Yes. So I saw a little bit of that in that YouTube clip. And back to those events where I met you, and obviously one of them was a personal development one, another one was property investment. What has testimonials that you know, the audience have got from your you know, presentation, from your coaching and your mentoring, and your style of assisting? What benefits have been gained from attendees?
Okay, I've got so many testimonials actually on file. So many come to mind right now. I mean, I've run workshops where I remember you know, somebody came to me and they came to the workshop and then they had always had a problem, eczema problem and psoriasis on their whole body, right? For years and years and years, and they came to the workshop and after the workshop, within days it had gone and it's never returned.
So was it a mindset shift, or was it?
Well, I think, you know.
Did you have a pill?
No, I mean, a lot of, you know, if you look at a lot of anxiety or, you know, or illnesses that are linked to any kind of, you know, anxiety, you know, or
it's a
stress,
and it causes the illness.
Exactly, you know, it can cause eczema or, you know, or psoriasis or something like that, or it could be a stutter or, you know, dis-ease, you know, usually shows up first in the mind, doesn't it? When you have an uneasiness about the future, or there's something, you know.
Dis-ease.
Yeah, dis-ease, you know, when you're uneasy. And then that can manifest. You know, and this gentleman had obviously, you know, something had happened when he was much younger, and it had manifested in eczema all over his body and psoriasis, you know. And then he came to the workshop, and within days it was gone, and never came back. And he gave me an amazing testimony. I had a gentleman who came to the workshop, and he had been hijacked twice, where he had his car stolen at gunpoint, and as a result of that, he was extremely nervous whenever he drove his car. He just, you know, it was literally where he actually for him to get in his car and drive from home to work and from work to home again, it's terrible for him. He hated it. And so
it's like a fear of phobia type.
Yeah, and he gave me and he was a doctor too. And he gave me a fantastic testimonial, because after that, his anxiety had gone. But yeah, I've worked with people who've been raped and hijacked, and people who have been especially in South Africa. I worked with ex-police personnel, ex-military personnel. I've worked with business people who have wanted to increase their bottom line profit. I've helped sales teams. I've got some fantastic testimonials, and loads of them, written testimonials.
Obviously, a lot of our audience are in the start of their startup journey, their business journey, and some of them are already successful. Like the names we've mentioned, the mutual friends that we have, and the investment networks that we've met. What do those individuals get out of it? Those that are starting out, or already wealthy, they're pushing themselves, they're pushing the envelope, or they're pushing themselves to the next level, to another level. What have they gained from listening to you?
Well, I think one of the biggest reasons why I really fell in love with Tony so quickly is because what he taught, it made a lot of sense to me. It was kind of like, wow, I love this stuff. It's like a lot of that stuff I was into it. And it made a lot of sense to me. And now what he fundamentally teaches, if you've been to a Tony workshop, he always talks about two disciplines, or the two arts. One art is the art of fulfillment, but then you've got the skill of, or the discipline of success, right? So you've got to be successful, right? And then you've also got to be fulfilled. And I think a lot of people who are at the level where they're very, very successful, and I've met a lot of those people myself, and some of those friends we share in common, they might be very, very successful, but a lot of them also, they haven't really managed, they're not very fulfilled, right? So, I've met a lot of people who are very, very happy, very, very wealthy, financially wealthy, but they're not, they're not really happy all the time,
Their term of success is very, very different.
Yeah.
Someone outside of, looking in, so, but he's successful, but he'll say, but I'm not happy, or I'm not fulfilled. Success isn't a measure of, the right measure of the state. I mean, what you're saying, like you said, success in everything is, it's I think happiness is ultimately the goal that you're looking for.
Yeah, definitely.
So those hungry investors out there. I mean, you mentioned Tony Robbins, and you might find it's a little odd that someone who teaches Tony Robbins workshops attending a business network. Someone would say, "Oh, he's just coaching, or just coaching these property investors, or these traders, or solicitors, etc." But what kind of message would you give to those the kind of individuals that might dismiss coming to a workshop like yourself?
Well, if they're business people, I think in especially nowadays,